StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm Art and Technology panel. Please put your hands together and welcome to the stage members of the StarCraft 2 team.
All right, everybody, welcome to the 2011 StarCraft 2 Art and Tech panel. Thanks for coming. My name is Alan Dilling. I'm the lead artist on StarCraft 2, and today we're going to show you some cool stuff we've been working on over the last year for Heart of the Swarm. First, I'll introduce you to our cool panel. We have Steve Provost, one of the next generation of younger artists at Blizzard. He's already made his mark. Basically, all the crazy, gooey, bloody deaths you've seen in the game, it's all his handiwork. Next, we have Dominic Filion, our lead graphics engineer. He's the smart one out of the group. He's the one that makes sure the engine can handle all the cool art we put into it. And lastly, we have Phil Gonzalez.
Hello, Blizzard Convention.
Phil's a veteran on the team. He's been here for quite a while, and basically every unit, multiplayer campaign goes through his sweet, lovely hands. All right, so first we're going to talk a little bit about the art style of Blizzard, just to kind of catch you up on our philosophy. We work really hard, we're very passionate about everything, and we want to play in these worlds as much as you guys do. So we work really hard trying to come up with epic ideas. This is really the start of it, like the core concept of what makes a unit cool, what makes the universe cool, what adds to the game itself besides just the gameplay mechanics. The next one is bold shapes. You really need to have a unique silhouette, especially in an RTS when you have a top-down view. It's really hard to see the units. You know, there's 300 Zerglings on screen all over the place. You got to be able to pick out the infester. So having a unique, bold shape that really shows off the unit well is really important. And of course, crisp and colorful textures. You know, we're known for not doing realistic stuff. It's a little more on the flavorful side. You know, lots of color. And again, with the crispness, you can't get too much detail since the units are smaller. Because when you zoom out again to the RTS view, it gets kind of busy. So you really need to kind of complement the bold shapes with details, but you can't get too much small stuff in there. And of course, to bring it to life, dynamic animations. Again, you're not going to see like uber realistic motion capture stuff with our animations. We like to do it by hand, keep it kind of stylized, a little bit over the top, and just basically have fun with it. So now on to the multiplayer units. I don't know if you guys have seen them on the floor out there, but we have a bunch of new units for all three sides. Now with 5,000% more super badassedness. And some of these units are still a work in progress, but I'm really proud of what we have so far on the art and design side. We've been playing The Office. We've had a lot of fun. The art looks amazing. These guys have done a great job. And it's kind of a fun thing, too, because we work hand in hand with the designers. Sometimes we get certain things from them that say, hey, we need a small unit, and it's got a grappling hook, and it flies. We're like, okay, cool. And we'll kind of go off and we'll start pushing it more. Like, what if it has 2 grappling hooks, or it's got laser grappling hooks, or you know, instead of flying, it's got, you know, giant legs, and we kind of try and push it back and forth a little bit. Other times, we actually get stuff in that just seems cool to us, and we're like, hey, like we want a giant robot in the game. Like the Thor is a great example. We went to the designers and they said, hey, you know, giant robot, it's got huge guns. Like they're like, what does it do? I don't know. You guys figure it out. It's just cool. Like who doesn't like giant robots? So that's a good unit. That's a good example of basically them putting in cool stuff on our side and making it work in the game really well on the mechanics side. And actually, some of the stuff you're seeing here today, the design came in recently, so some of the stuff we made literally like 3 weeks ago. In fact, last week we were still doing some tweaks, so it's really fresh. All right, first we'll start off with the Zerg. Heart of the Swarm is a Zerg-centric expansion, and one of the new units is actually called the Viper. Now this is about 3 years old actually. It's a development video we had internally. We really wanted to have a cool snake-like motion for one of the characters. And again, we didn't know what for. We thought, hey, that's a cool concept for Zerg. And so we animated this guy, we put him in, we were playing around with it, and it came down to, we just didn't have the tech to really pull it off so it'd be dynamic when it moved around in the level. And so we said, okay, we'll put it on the shelf and we'll come back to it, and you know, luckily a couple years later, we get to put it back in. And so we started reconcepting the overall look of it. And you can see Sammy, our art director, drew this, and at the beginning, it was a little more of a kind of a scorpion look, kind of a muta tail in there. More concepting, kind of flesh out the colors and some of the details. You see the changes in the head and the arms. And then you have the final model, which looks amazing, I think. And you're not going to see it animated here. I'll show you in a minute because it's dynamically animated, but this guy is the epitome of a cool, creepy Zerg. Like, you don't even want to click on it. It's so disgusting. And that's what we strive for, basically. Here's a couple of them in motion. You can see how their tails work. And when you click around and do 360s with them, they'll actually follow you perfectly. And, of course, a lovely environment from part of the campaign. A little sneak peek. Next, we have the Swarm Host. This guy's really cool. Again, an older concept here. At the beginning, we weren't sure if he was going to be a flyer or if he was going to be on the ground, so we kind of just, went with either concept. He ended up being a ground-based unit. And you can see here he's got a very distinct silhouette. Again, really strong shapes. He stands out against everything else in the game with that huge pad on his back and the egg sacs. A very structured, thick kind of dinosaur build for his motion because, as you'll see here, he's kind of a slow mover. And you see they come in, basically they burrow and they unleash these little critters called locusts, and they just tear up your bases. So Terran players are going to hate them. Next we have the Terran. Any Terran fans in the audience? See, they're just OP. You guys are just cheesy. Come on. All right, the first unit actually is a revisit of an older unit, the Hellion. So you can see we changed it up a little bit. It's got a new paint job on it, got some flames. And then, I don't know, by the way, it turns into a robot, which is super cool. Again, you can tell we like robots. This guy, again, strong shape. He's got the turret on top. When he transforms in this mode, it's almost like a siege mode. He's a little bit slower. He's tougher, though, and he's got a shorter range on his flamethrowers. And he's got those awesome shields on his arms that help deflect the damage. Here's some in the base transforming. And basically, this is the last thing a Zerg player sees before they GG. Here we have the Warhound. Again, more robots. Some of the themes of the new Terran units are a little more high-tech than some of the older, kind of more junky stuff. Here's a great picture of everything you love about Terrans. It's got fire, it's got a huge cannon, rocket missiles, laser explosions, and of course a pig decal on the shield. Gotta have that. Here's the actual model, looking amazing. And again, we try to get a unique silhouette. We have sharp angles that try and get all the specular highlights in the model. The guys did a great job texturing this one. Here's a group of them, totally decimating some Protoss. And again, these units are all playable on the floor, so I encourage you guys later on to stand in the hopefully short line and test them out yourself. Last, for the Terrans, we have the Shredder. This guy, again, this is another kind of like a napkin concept. Sometimes we have high detailed concepts like you saw in the Warhound. Sometimes we just need a very simple, quick idea, and then we kind of hand it off to the modeler and the texture, and they kind of run with it, kind of add their own flavor to it, and we kind of let everybody contribute a little bit so they have some ownership. This guy looks a little bit like an old spider mine. He's got 4 legs, he's robotic, he walks around. Here's his mobile mode right here where he walks around. He's kind of a cute little guy. But what he does, basically, he burrows in the ground, and then he pops up his pad on top, and a huge energy shield comes out. Or energy shockwave, basically, and just decimates anything. So Zerg players are going to hate this guy. And again, all these animations and everything are very in flux. My favorite race, the Protoss. There you go. So we did a couple interesting things. For right now, we're actually taking out the carrier and the mothership on the multiplayer side, and it's going to replace him with this guy. So he's going to be the new capital ship. Really large, huge, and you can see here another kind of rough concept, really trying to capture the sleek shapes, almost organic shapes of the Protoss. And you can see on the top, it kind of shows a little bit of the weapon system, which is important because, as you see here in the final model, like that energy ball is huge. It really becomes part of the ship itself with the silhouette. It basically launches that thing out and takes out, massive mutas. This guy has an interesting history too because he started off as a Dark Templar theme, so he had more of the silver and green colors, and we're trying to balance out the armies just visually. And then, we decided, hey, screw it, he's going back to typical Protoss, traditional gold colors. And often that happens during development. We'll switch back and forth, test different things out. Here you can see him totally decimate a whole bunch of mutas. Yeah, I love this guy. Now here's another old development video. This guy back in the day was called the Star Relic, and it's probably about 3 or 4 years ago. And we just wanted something cool. We didn't know exactly what it did. Just, hey, awesome, robotic, techno-magical looking Protoss thing. And there was no role for it basically in the Army. So every time the designers would be like, hey, we're going to put in this flyer or this caster, I'd be like, oh, dude, come on, use this. And I'd pull it back out every time. It was almost like a joke. And so finally, there is a role for it as the caster in the Heart of the Swarm expansion. And so here's the final model, again, looking much better. And it's interesting, this guy actually started off with the gold colors at first, and once we switched the Tempest over back to gold, we said, well, we got to have one Dark Templar new unit in there, so we switched this guy over to silver. I would like to say we spent a lot of time thinking about it, and it was this huge deliberation, and we're very smart about it, but it took about 5 minutes, and we're like, yeah, that looks cool, ship it. So this guy's really fun. He's actually kind of a harassment unit with these cool spells. Like, he can put shields on your minerals so you can't mine, so that's going to be pretty evil. Here we go, the Replicant. This guy's awesome. Again, talking about a very unique silhouette and structure. He goes around the battlefield. He just, it's a robotic unit, so we don't have to worry too much about the cockpit or seating in it or like how it all works. I mean, we try and be somewhat, form follows function, but this guy just looks cool. Like, screw it, he looks cool, put him in there. Basically, his role is he'll take any other unit he sees on the battlefield and turn into it. So like right here, you can see him stealing the identity of the siege tanks, and he's a permanent siege tank now. So now it means the Protoss players can now have any other unit that's on any other race, which is very crazy. But I love that. Cool, well now I'm going to turn you over to Steve Provost to talk about environments.
I'm Steve Provost, a 3D artist on StarCraft 2. I'm going to show you a few videos of some of the new tile sets that we're working on, and then talk about some of the philosophies that we had going into this project. So here's a new installation in Heart of the Swarm. We really wanted them to feel unique from those in Wings of Liberty. So most of the environments in Wings of Liberty have a lot of dirt and a lot of grit in them. So what we wanted to try to do with this one was make a cleaner environment. But you lose a lot of detail on the surface when you take away that dirt. So what we decided to do was add reflective environment mapping to add that missing detail. And it really makes the surfaces shine. Here's a new lava tile set. We really wanted the Terran elements in this tile set to feel rooted to the ground in such a way that it could survive this hostile environment with all the flames and the lava. And you can see some smaller frequency details and small models around the edges. It makes it look a little more alive and occupied by the Terran. There's also a new set of custom walls there with ramps as well. And those are pathable by some of the smaller units of the game. So those are completely modular, and modders are going to have a good time making interesting mods with those. This is another man-made tile set. It's floating in the thick atmosphere of this alien planet. We added a lot of environment animations, a lot of construction equipment and stuff to make this feel like a functional base for the Terran. We also added some really massive cannons there in the background. It makes it look a little more defended and kind of shows off the scale of this massive base. And all of the art in Heart of the Swarm is brand new. We really use very few assets from Wings of Liberty. So I think the overall quality of the art has increased dramatically. Okay, here's a new ice tile set for Heart of the Swarm. Sammy, our art director, really wanted to add a cool ice tile set for the fans. And so we spent a lot of time doing different iteration on ice and different styles and shapes and different shaders. And one of our artists came up with a really cool model, which was blue, cyan, and purple. And we really liked it, so we applied it to all the assets on the stage. But it was a little too saturated, so we decided to dial it back and add some environment mapping on it. And it really brought it into the StarCraft universe and gave it that crisp look that you see today. Okay, so one of the most notable improvements to the art in Heart of the Swarm is our distinct color palettes per tile set. In Wings of Liberty, we would make a lot of assets that would be used across different tile sets. And so if you saw pipes on Braxis Alpha, you would see the same exact pipes on Valhalla. But in Heart of the Swarm, we made every asset handcrafted for that tile set. So it really gives that crisp color scheme. It makes it unique for each environment. So every